What's going on, everybody? Dots Gaming here, and today I'm bringing you guys some information about a new MMORPG that's actually coming out this summer that seemingly feels like it came out of the blue, and it's called Swords of Legends Online. It is an Eastern MMO coming to the West in the summer of 2021, and from what I've been able to read about the game, it does have pretty good feedback from people in the East, so hopefully it does have a good Western release. Looks like this game is being published by Gameforge, and we're gonna get into some information about the game. We have a bunch of stuff off their Steam page, the Steam homepage, and they also did like a Q&A discussion type of thing, so I'm gonna cover some of the big ticket mentions from there that people might have in terms of questions about the game, and then we're also gonna look at some information on their website as like some more details about the classes. So starting with the information on the Steam page, when you do pre-order Swords of Legends Online, you get guaranteed access to the closed beta, an exclusive title, a housing item, and a mask, and you also get early access to create your character, secure your hero's name. Swords of Legends Online is an action MMORPG set in a breathtaking fantasy world with sophisticated combat mechanics and a unique storyline based on Chinese mythology. Explore the world with 6 different classes, engage in epic PvP encounters, and take on challenging dungeons and reach the fascinating endgame. Now, we are going to hear a little bit more about the PvP and PvE stuff in a bit when we get to the FAQ, so you will hold that point for right now. The next thing, though, is something that I'm really interested in, and that's the combat. The action combat system places a panoply of mystical skills at your disposal for you to continually hone and improve in an adrenaline-pumping encounter. Skillfully dodge enemy attacks, combo your skills, and switch between the action and tab targeting combat as you choose. This raised a lot of questions for me in terms of what the combat's going to be like. I'm trying to draw parallels in my brain to what I think this could possibly be, and I'm not really sure. I don't know if we're going to get like a like a BDO style, a Guild Wars 2 style, ESO. I'm not really sure what we can expect in terms of combat, because to be able to switch between pure action and pure tab target is kind of like a bold claim. So I'm wondering what kind of like hybrid it might be between the two and what the combat's actually going to be like, because for me, I'm a very combat oriented person. So how good or bad this is really going to be able to make or break the game for me. So we will see what happens. In terms of our classes, though, we have 6 available classes with 2 roles for each class so that you can gear up and switch between them depending on the needs of your mission. You can visit your class's unique heartlands on your adventures to unlock unique quest lines and further improve your character's skill set. I like stuff like that. I always am a big fan of like class halls or class areas, so that does sound very cool. In terms of the epic story, Swords of Legends Online tells an extraordinary saga through beautifully voiced cutscenes. The story weaves together belligerent gods, an ancient war between peoples, and legendary swords that were once wielded by celebrated heroes and of a bygone era, which now inspire the quest for peace. The game does have what sounds like a pretty intricate housing system. You gain access to your very own floating island on which to build a magnificent temple and garden as your own residence, sculpt the landscape with huge range of modification options, and gain inspiration as you visit the islands of your friends and neighbors on the back of a flying mount. That sounds really interesting, and especially if you're able to kind of like zone into someone's house and then fly in, I feel like that could be pretty interesting. So finally, Swords of Legends Online is a visually stunning MMORPG with 6 available classes with 2 roles each. Fast-paced action combat system. Again, I really want to learn more about that. Exciting story-driven gameplay with voiced cutscenes. Hopefully they invest in good voice actors. Good voice actor or a bad voice actor can really make or break that type of cutscene. Tons of dungeons with different difficulty levels, gripping endgame content with epic PvP battles. Really excited to hear more about the endgame content. Huge selection of flying mounts and an extensive housing system. Now, I want to move into the FAQ, as I'm sure through me reading all that information, you probably have some questions, because I know I sure did. And as I was actually making this video the first time, I was like trying to like pitch like all these things that I was wondering about, and I kind of was trying to search to see if I could find information about it, and I found an FAQ on Steam. So we have some really good information to kind of dive more into what the game is going to look like. So their business model is going to be a buy-to-play title. You buy it once and then you can play it forever. 3 different editions of the game at prices starting at $40 USD. So it's going to be interesting to see what the microtransaction shop looks like. Buy to play typically will come with the microtransaction store, and they do claim here that the microtransactions are going to be purely visual. These will have no effect on gameplay and are on top of the already extensive visual customization options already available within the game. Now, people then ask, is character customization only available through microtransaction? And it says not at all. They feature a huge amount of customization already attainable through regular gameplay. Each weapon, piece of armor, etc. that you pick up throughout the game is unlocked permanently as a skin that you can mix and match to your liking, giving your characters a high variety of different themes and looks. Now, I hope that it isn't one of those things where it's like, yeah, you could technically get a bunch of visuals throughout the game, but they all look kind of crappy, and all the really good ones are only available through the microtransaction store. So hopefully they kind of do have a mix. But I'm not gonna lie, this has me very like cautiously optimistic, you know, to hear that it's buy to play, no pay to win, but we've all had this song and dance before. So while it does sound great, we're going to have to wait to see until the game actually comes out to see if what they're saying here really does hold true. Because, again, we've been told this before, and we've seen it gone down the more pay-to-win route or pay-to-convenience. And so, where it's like heavily pay-to-convenience. So we'll have to see what the microtransaction store really kind of does look like as the game gets closer to release. Now, there are no gender lock on classes. That is one thing that I thought there was going to be based off of certain descriptions of the classes. But no, there will be no gender lock, which is amazing because I know that that's such a big turnoff. It's a turnoff for me sometimes. I like to generally play my characters as male. Some people want to play all their characters as female. So I'm glad to see that there is no class gender lock. There are going to be no different races, though. You can only play as a human. There will be 5 character slots available upon release. In terms of how the world is actually structured, it does seem like it's kind of very similar to ESO, where the game is split into large zones separated by loading screens. So I'm sure there's going to be like a gate or something that you have to walk through that will actually then load you into that zone. And then the main methods of movement around the game are either by mounting or teleporting. Now, the game will have the Holy Trinity. So it will be best to have a group comprised of 1 tank, 1 healer, and 3 damage dealers for 5-player content. So that's most likely going to be for dungeons, very similar to World of Warcraft. However, PvP combat scales up to 20-player raids where you might have more room to adjust your composition a little more. So that makes me wonder if their raids are going to be flex raids, kind of like WoW, where the raid will actually scale with you up till 20 people. So that does sound very, very interesting. In terms of PvP, if so, are there open world or separate game mode? There are going to be several PvP game modes for small and large groups to enjoy. Upon release, however, they can request to duel other players in the open world. So it does sound like, unfortunately, they're going to just be rolling out PvP as the game kind of comes up. But I mean, I can kind of understand that. You know, if you don't want to release maybe some sort of PvP on launch because you want to give people time to get into the game, get their characters geared up, get them leveled, things like that. So I can kind of understand, but as a primarily PvP player, when I do play games, I'm really interested to see what kind of PvP they have available, what it's going to be, if it's going to be some sort of like world versus world type of deal, or if it's going to be like arena, kind of like WoW, or maybe smaller, just BGs, kind of like ESO. It's going to be interesting to see what the PvP looks like, and I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful for something fun. For something really, really fun. So I'm hoping for the best. Also, we do have some information about operating systems and some more technological stuff. Can you play with a gamepad? No, you can. It does feature partial controller support, but it's going to be not fully optimized for controllers, and it is only available on Windows. So therefore, no, there is no console play. The game will be available in Europe, North and South America, the Middle East, North Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, with servers being available on European side in Germany and 1 in North America on the Eastern US. And the server clusters will be comprised of multiple servers to be able to support thousands of players. So it sounds like there's going to be primary data centers with different servers that you can play on. Now, these are going to be the phases moving into release. We're going to be going through a variety of phases to scale up service feedback and testing to implement fixes in between. Dates for the more public timeframes will be announced ahead of time. Alpha is going to be a chance for you to, for press and content creators to get a first look at the world and play the content, which hopefully I will be able to look into. Poke your favorite content creator if you want them to take a look. Maybe they are included in, yep, it should be. Beta will be split into 2 time frames where players who pre-ordered or received beta keys can participate. Character selection is that pre-order bonus where you can basically kind of set your character up and your name before launch. And then launch is when the game is actually going to be released for players. But now we're going to take a look at some information on the solo website. So in terms of the actual editions that you can buy that I've been talking about, there's 3 different editions ranging from $40 to $100. The standard edition is $40, which simply includes the base game and the pre-order bonuses that I mentioned earlier if you were to buy it now. The collector's edition gives you a couple costumes, a weapon skin, a flying mount, a fancy housing bundle, and the base game with the same pre-order bonuses, but also including 4 beta keys that you can give to friends. And then finally, the deluxe edition is just the costumes, 1 additional beta key for $60. And like I said, that collector's edition is $100. The thing that I want to look into now is the classes. We got some information about the classes, with our first one being the Spearmaster. There's no getting away from the Spearmaster's lightning fast blows. They hone their skills through years of hard training, making them formidable opponents on the field of battle. Cutting through the enemy ranks with deadly precision and steel discipline, Spearmasters prove themselves as a stalwart ally. Aside from their martial prowess on the field, they are also talented engineers capable of constructing impressive machines. Well, that's some pretty interesting. We also have the Berserker, feel most at home in the thick of the fray. Wielding their massive swords, they strike fear into the enemy's hearts while simultaneously protecting their allies. Berserkers can call upon a loyal wolf to support them depending on the situation. They can also act as a bulwark in defending enemy attacks or unleash their power in a veritable whirlwind of destruction. We also have the Bard. Bards have a deep and profound wisdom of music, knowing how to combine their magical notes of their instruments and unlock powerful spells. They use this magic to hit their foes from a powerful distance or provide support and succor their allies with powerful healing melodies. Their versatility makes bards a welcome addition to any rank. Whatever the situation, they always strike the right chord. We also have the Summoner. Summoners live in harmony with the world. Their profound knowledge of the natural world makes them powerful allies, as they summon natural sprites to support them while they can unleash ancient spells. Their magical healing abilities can often prove to be the difference between life and death, but summoners aren't limited to only healing, being perfectly capable of dealing serious damage in combat should they need to. We also have the Reaper. As students of an ancient school, Reapers blur boundaries between life and death. Using their powerful scythes, they rake across the battlefield like a hurricane of darkness. Having glanced behind the curtain into the unknown, Reapers can manipulate the energy of life itself, reawakening allies to new powers and healing fatal injuries. Their connection to the shadows also allows them to sneak up on their enemies unaware. The final class is the Spell Sword, blending deadly swordplay and powerful magic to become a threatening prospect at any range. He can rapidly switch between the blades and destructive spells at the blink of an eye, and spell swords are trained for one purpose and one purpose only: to inflict damage on their foes wherever they might be. We also have some information about the world on the site, not much more than what I've kind of already covered. There's just a little bit of information if you want to take a look at the lore for the world, some media, as well as some system requirements. So I am trying to be cautiously optimistic about the game. I don't like to get my hopes too up when it comes to MMOs, because we've all been promised the world before and have been let down. But to me, the game does seem pretty cool already, just looking into it. I will be trying, my best to be able to cover this game more and more as we move into the alpha and beta. But my biggest concerns for the game, and I think the things that can potentially stagnate it, are a couple of things. Number one, the game's performance. The game looks really, really nice, and the big thing though that can hold it back is the game going to actually run well on your computer? If you have a game with bad performance, it doesn't matter how great it is, the performance is going to push some people away. So I'm hoping that performance-wise, the game does run well. My second concern is the combat. Having the different flows between action and tab targeting, is one going to have an advantage over the other? What kind of action combat is it going to be? Because we have multiple levels of action combat, from BDO to Guild Wars 2 to Elder Scrolls Online. There's lots of differences, so I'm wondering what kind of action combat it's going to be, and again, how they're going to mesh the tab targeting with that. And then finally, of course, the elephant in the room is actually the payment and the microtransaction shop. We've seen this story before, where the game's released buy to play with the cosmetic only microtransaction shops, and then eventually those become pay to win, and then the game eventually dies. So I will say, Swords of Legends Online really did kind of pop out of nowhere. Popped into my inbox and they were like, hey, you want to check the game out? And I looked into it. Looks pretty good. Like I said, I try not to get my hopes up too much for MMOs a lot of times, because we've all been promised and let down a lot in the past. But I have to say, so far, from just looking at the game, like I said, I am cautiously optimistic and will be following the game's progression as it goes on. I am interested to see, though, if it's what kind of gearing system it's going to be in the game. That's another thing I am worried about, because that was one of my biggest turnoffs from BDO, was the gearing system, and how not only how long it took to actually get geared, but just the RNG gearing itself, for having to just spend ludicrous amounts of money in order to get geared. So there's a couple of things, again, a couple of systems that we need to dive in and take a look at to see how good the game's going to be, but definitely seems like it has some potential, and I will be keeping my eye on it and covering it in the upcoming weeks. So what do you guys think of Swords of Legends Online? Does it sound interesting to you? Are you going to probably bypass it, or are you going to keep an eye on it? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And guys, if you do want to keep up with some MMORPG content on my YouTube channel, covering a variety of games, first impressions, is it worth playing, etc., please hit that sub button as well as the bell to keep notifications on. And if you did find this video informative, I would appreciate if you smacked a like on it. So thank you guys so much for stopping by today's video, though, and spending some time with me. Do really appreciate it very much. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next video.